This is the chassis completely stripped down from a 322 smoke contender. Before I reassemble it, I wanted to show you what I mean by retensioning the contact springs. After all cleaning is complete, I do two things, and this is one of my best practices and things that I do to trains that have been sent to me to be rebuilt. First of all, I'm going to put 3-in-1 oil into the location of every axle, or I call them journal boxes, to reduce friction and wear. Then I'm going to inspect all the contact springs. Sometimes they're called contact springs, or sometimes they're called swipe springs. What I'm inspecting is the location of the tip of each spring. Here's a good example where the tip is beneath an imaginary line that goes from that journal box to this one. I have discovered in working on these trains that at times I have found the contact spring barely touching the axle, if at all. It looks like it's floating beneath it. My expectation is the spring will hold the axle up. In other words, there'll be enough tension on the spring that if you lay or position the chassis on its front or on its back, whatever you want to look at it, that the wheel and axle assembly ought to be elevated, and that you can press down on the wheel and axle assembly and feel it springing back into place. How I retension them is simply to place my finger where it is riveted. I don't want to disturb that, and I still want to bend it along that crease, this original crease. So I'll position my finger right about there, press down where the rivet is, and lift up on the spring gently, kind of rocking it back and forth until I feel it go up high enough. And I think you can see this one now is probably above the imaginary horizontal line that goes from that journal box to this one. And then I'll inspect them all like that, put the wheel and axles back in, and then press down on the wheel and axle assembly to make sure it's springing back into place. That ensures enough pressure to provide a good contact. I have discovered these that float beneath the axle, and no wonder the locomotive, I think, is one of the factors that it was not performing. A locomotive was not performing up to what it's supposed to. My gosh, you want to complete the circuit, right? And you want it to be a solid physical contact.